No one.
What's up, Gator Nation? Welcome into the latest Gators Online podcast. Zach Albaverdi, Nick Del Torre coming to you guys. And obviously, slow news week in Gainesville. Not too much happening here. So not a lot to talk about, right, Nick?
Yeah, it's the off season. Just gotta make stuff up. So hey, maybe a top 10 list of Florida Mount Rushmore. Not much going on.
Yeah, well, right now it remains to be seen if Jaden Rashada could end up on that Mount Rushmore's list. Hopefully, by the time you guys are listening to this, maybe on a Friday, if you're saving it for a road trip, this Jaden Rashada situation that's played out in Gainesville this week will be resolved. And I think everybody's on standby waiting. And for those that haven't kept up with all the craziness that happened with that this week, the Gators welcomed their early enrollees to campus for the start of the spring semester. Majority of their 2023 class, actually. And one of those guys, however, that did not make it in and was scheduled to was Jaden Rashada. And initially, Gators Online, some of the other media outlets were told that it was a transcript issue. But as the week played out, we kind of come to find out that it was more so NIL related, and certainly played out that way throughout Wednesday as different news reports continue to come out from what's kind of turned into a fiasco, Nick. And, it's unfortunate. It's kind of taken away from the other guys that have enrolled and the fact that the Gators got so many in mid-year. Now there's just so much focus on this one guy, but it's the crown jewel of your class. It's the most important position on the field. And the Gators got to get this situation resolved. Otherwise, the future and when he or if he'll make it to campus is going to be in doubt.
Yeah. And to me, this is bigger than just one player, bigger than just even the quarterback in your class. College football circles are small. NIL circles and the agents and coaches and players and families that are dealing with NIL, which is ever evolving. Those circles are even smaller. And based on reports, it would seem that there's a number out there, rather large number for a guy who hasn't taken a snap in college football. And if the perception even is that Florida made an offer and then can't pay it, how does that affect your recruiting going forward? And what do, we used to say, hey, Nick Saban says, they've been saying I'm going to retire every year in terms of negative recruiting. When it comes down to dollars and cents, that's a lot different than saying, hey, the coach might not be there. Because at this point, you're like, coaches leave every 3 to 4 years anyway. That's not a big deal.
Yeah.
But if you're talking about, messing with people's pockets now, it's a big hurdle that Florida needs to address. And it's something that I think that if it's not addressed and fixed, or a resolution doesn't come this week, or something's not fixed in the coming weeks and months, that it's something that could affect Florida long term.
Yeah. A couple of things that I think it's important that we be clear about, and I think maybe there's some confusion or uncertainty about who to point fingers at here. I mean,
everyone's looking for a scapegoat.
And the issues that need to get straightened out that Nick is referring to are NIL related and NIL based. And with that being said, this is not a Billy Napier problem. This is not an issue with his coaching staff. In terms of the recruiting aspect of being able to sign guys, and I would even go as far to say, this is a pretty isolated incident. I don't think that Florida's going to find themselves in many recruitments like this unless they go after Cormani McClain again. The other guys that they signed and got to campus, there was no drama with. All those guys are probably getting NIL deals, and there's no issue there. So it's when you get into these bidding wars and these type of battles that you find yourselves in situations like this. But we had to kind of explain some of it on the message board this week, Nick, but how the structure of Florida's collectives work and where the money comes from and what the Gator Collective's role is in this. I mean, based on our understanding, Nick, I mean, this is not a Gator Collective issue. This is
no.
this is now the Gator Collective. They are basically the entity that signs athletes to the deals, and they make sure that those deals get facilitated and obligations are met and that the athletes get paid. That's their role in this process. And then they are obviously contributing to the NIL deals with fan donations. But the big NIL deals for Florida's top football players and Florida's top basketball players and Florida's top athletes, those come from, some people that are donating more and sponsoring these teams and these athletes, like Hugh Hathcock with Gator Guard, like Gary Condren with the baseball team, Chandler Parsons, with UF Hoops and some other folks that have contributed there. But, Jaden Rashada is not enrolled on campus because Jeff Noodleman decided to sponsor the women's basketball team for $1,000. So let's just make that clear, because the timing of that was kind of unfortunate this week, because these ladies had a really cool moment where they were recognized, kind of for what they've done. And, people were like, wow, they take that money and get Jaden Rashada on campus. That's not how this works.
No.
And Jeff Noodleman is, he can spend his money as a CEO the way he wants to, just like Gary Condren spends his on baseball and Hugh Hadcock spends his on football. So this is just a weird situation that college sports is in right now. But, if you're looking for somebody to blame, I guess blame Congress, because they haven't stepped up and fixed this mess.
That's easy. Hey, when in doubt, blame the government.
Blame the politicians.
Yeah. It's I was on with the Inside Scoop today with Josh Newberg, and he said, "Is this college football's first holdout?" I was like, "Yeah, it might be, but also it's probably not going to be the last." Like the way the NIL was being dealt with last week is that's a big holdout.
He's technically the first holdout.
Yeah, this is only a Florida issue, and I mean the state, the state of Florida. Yes. This is a Florida man headline. Florida man holds out on NIL deal. The significance of it though for the football team. I don't think Jaden Rashada was going to start this year, but let's say Jaden does not get to campus. Now you have 3 scholarship quarterbacks: Graham Mertz, Jack Miller, and Max Brown, who will be playing baseball this spring too. Maybe not maybe not much if he has to run off and play spring football, considering that they don't have many arms without Jaden Rashada on campus to throw. But that's it. Kyle Engel is a walk-on who graduated. Does he stay? Does he want to continue playing football? He's had thoughts of just hanging up the cleats and being a regular person, going to graduate school, getting a job. And then you've got Parker Lees, like the chips. I don't know how to say it. He's the preferred walk-on from IMG. He's originally from Kansas. I mean, it's just not a deep quarterback room. And I was thinking, I asked Billy on early signing day, what numbers do you want to get at? And he's like, well, you want 4 on scholarship, maybe you want 5. And he said they're going to get one in the portal. That was Mertz, and then and a preferred walk-on. That was Parker. So if Jaden Rashada doesn't come, next time we talk to Billy, hey Billy, you're still down a quarterback. What do you do? And there's a quarterback who hit the transfer portal from LSU, and that I think fans have already kind of turned their attention to. But I think if Jaden Rashada doesn't come to campus, Florida's back in the market for another quarterback.
Yeah. Although I think to your point, 2 things to make Florida fans feel better about this thing going south. The potential loss of Jaden Rashada would hurt more long-term, obviously, than short-term, because as Nick said, he's not going to start unless he absolutely comes in and lights it up and just takes the job from whoever wins it, or the season goes south and they decide to just at some point turn the page and start building for the future. To me, those are the only 2 scenarios where he wins, or injuries, obviously, unfortunately. But he, wasn't going to be your starter that you were counting on from day one. So it doesn't hurt you as much in the short term as it does long term. However, Long term, you also have DJ Lagway committed. So, you're going to have to figure out and have enough depth to get through this season if Rashada's not part of that room. But if Lagway comes in, you still have a quarterback for the future, and maybe a guy that could have potentially beat Rashada if they both make it on campus. So now, with all that being said, if Rashada doesn't make it, man, I'm getting Lagway signed up for every single online class available in the state of Texas to get him to reclassify for the fall. And I mean, who knows if that would even be a possibility? But the Gators obviously have the option of going into the portal as well, seeing what's available in the spring after spring ball wraps up. So it's not like all is lost here if this doesn't work out. And at this point, if they can't get it resolved, and this is going to drag out into the summer and all the way up into the fall, as much as it might be good for us in terms of news coverage, I don't think as a program they want to be dealing with that and having it hang over their head. So a lot is going to have to get worked out here rather soon.
Yeah, and I, in terms of on the field in 2023, I don't think this has a huge impact, in games. But it's the perception, and sometimes perception can become reality. That has long-lasting, a long-lasting impact on Florida, regardless of this situation.
Sure.
Just to have it drag out this long, and this issue is not just an 11th hour thing. This is part of the reason why we were waiting for Billy for an hour and a half, on early signing day. This issue goes back a couple months where this NIL issue. So it's something that Florida needs to figure out.
And if it gets worked out, is it the end of this issue? Does this happen again at the start of next season or going into next season? Does this happen again after his first year as a starter in terms of a holdout? So something to think about.
Yeah, and we're gonna jump into a lighter topic and get Florida outfitter Wyatt Langford in here to talk about the baseball season coming up. But at the other side of the interview, I'm sure we'll have more Rashada to talk about. And Zach, the basketball team's won 2 in a row.
Yes, they just need a dose of Mike White, Nick.
They just need a little bit of Mike White. So we'll jump in here to the first ad read and then get Wyatt Langford and welcome him on the podcast.
What's up, Florida fans? Wanted to encourage all of you to go check out rogueshop.com if you have issues sleeping, chronic pain, and or anxiety and stress. Rogue Shop sells CBD, THC, edibles, smokables, and vapes, as well as handcrafted bath salts, soaps, candles, massage oils, pain creams, and topicals. Rogue Shop is a true small business, disabled, veteran-owned, Black-owned, woman-owned company. They have 5 employees and make all of their products with their own cannabis grown in their manufacturing facility. Visit rogueshop.com. That's ROGUESHOP.com.
Happy to be joined here by Wyatt Langford, who last year tied the single season record for most home runs in Florida Gator history. Quite a year, but Wyatt, even before that, I think you had an even bigger moment for you, was getting engaged to your longtime girlfriend. So congratulations are in order.
Thank you.
Tell me a little bit about that. I got engaged. In August. What is more nerve-wracking, being up to bat with someone throwing 100 miles an hour, or sitting there fumbling with a ring in your pocket with the girl that you love?
That's a tough one. No, I was definitely pretty nervous, but I would say I was more excited than anything, really.
It's funny because you're not going to ask the question, and you don't the answer to the question, but it's still really nerve-wracking to ask it.
Yeah, exactly.
Now let's getting into baseball season. It's an interesting makeup of the team, and I think the transfer portal has kind of taken baseball by storm. And obviously, you guys had BT last year, and he seemed to fit right in. I almost call him like a little version of Sully. who's on the field with you guys. But you get Hurston Waldrip. You get a bunch of guys now through the portal. How is it different adding guys in terms of freshmen or adding guys in the transfer portal who maybe have more experience, just in terms of building that clubhouse culture?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely takes a little more work. Just having those guys coming in from different programs, getting them adjusted to our program and how things work here, as they've already been in that college setting and maybe did things a different way somewhere else.
Why? What was, just thinking back on this past season, just like that jump for you, where coming off of your freshman year, where you didn't get to play as much and didn't get to show as much of what you can do, and then you just explode last year. What was that like, having things like kind of come together for you?
Yeah, I mean, it was a great. It was a dream come true, really. Just being able to play for the Florida Gators. That was always my dream growing up as a kid. So I was just living the dream, really.
When did you, at what point, maybe even going through the off season or during the year, did you feel like things were clicking, especially from a homer standpoint?
Yeah, I had a really good fall before the spring last year, and I knew I had a really good chance that I was going to be in the lineup a lot the coming up year. So I guess that was kind of when, after that fall ended, I kind of had a good idea of what I was capable of doing going into the spring.
And then the move, so you played I think like third base mostly, and then catcher. And when you came to Florida, you had the role of warming guys up as a freshman, really, a lot of innings sent, squatting in the bullpen. What was the transition to left field like, and who approached you about, hey, let's see if we can get your bat in the lineup? Can you go and play some in the outfield for us?
Yeah. So I caught all freshman year, and then I caught in the summer after freshman year, and then halfway through the fall of sophomore year, I was still catching, and then they, I guess the coaches as a group kind of just sent me out to the outfield, and then I never really went back to catching. But the transition itself, it wasn't too bad. It definitely was a learning curve because I never played outfield growing up or anything. Not like much, at least. So it was a transition, but I picked it up pretty easily.
And it's probably easier to transition from catcher to left field than left field to catcher. There's a lot more that goes into it still, but I imagine the first time you get like a hotline drive or a ball that's hit, at head level, you're wondering, first step back, first step in, what am I doing? But I think the best compliment I can give you is you didn't look like a catcher out there in left field at all last year.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, I remember the first day out in the outfield, they sent me out there. I let a ground ball roll all the way to the fence. So
yeah, you learn quick that, hey, if a ball gets past me, there's not anyone behind me to help. And it might not be it might not be a long run, but it feels like you're running a mile when a ball gets under you in the outfield.
Exactly.
What were some of I guess, what was the moment, or was there a moment last year where you thought like, hey, I belong, like I belong here in this lineup, at this school, or is that something you've always had, I guess, that self-confidence? But a lot of guys talk about, hey, something happened where I thought, yeah, I can do this.
Yeah. I've always believed that. I even coming to school, I knew that I belonged at Florida and that I was capable of playing.
Now, obviously, going through the season, Wyatt, it got to a point where you chasing that record. What was that something that you thought about? Was it something that motivated you at all? Did you not care? What was that like, getting to the end and kind of being right there with Matt?
Yeah. I didn't really know about the record. That 26 was the record. I was just trying to perform my best to help our team. Just continue doing what I was doing. And
one of the approaches, I can't remember if you told me this or you said it in media last year. One of the approaches I think you had was when you got moved to leadoff. A lot of leadoff guys are traditionally the first batter is, hey, go and see how many pitches you can get and let the guy see what he has. And I think your approach was, I think that first pitch of the game a lot of times is going to be a fastball. If I get grooved a fastball, I'm going to go ahead and swing. I think there was a couple games, 4 or 5 games where you hit the first pitch of the game out for a home run. Was that kind of your thought process? You're like, hey, 90% of the time, the best pitch of the game is strike one. If he throws me strike one fastball, we're swinging out of our shoes.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I was never a leadoff hitter growing up or anything, and I wouldn't say I'm a traditional leadoff hitter. So I just kind of stuck with my same approach. I mean, if I'm gonna get a fastball down the middle, I'm not just gonna take it.
Yeah, and what obviously you personally had a great season. The team had a good season. You come up short. The season ends a little earlier than you guys would want it to, but that led into your summer. What was it like? Just a kid from Trenton getting an email or a letter. I don't know how they do it. You can tell us how you get invited to wear the United States of America flag across your chest and to get a chance to play for the USA Collegiate Baseball team.
Yeah, it was a great overall experience. I mean, that was always kind of a dream of mine as well. I'd always wanted to play for Team USA. I mean, it's a great country. I mean, it's the best country in the world. So being able to represent that on the baseball diamond is really special.
What was your favorite part about that experience, and just maybe some highlights from that?
Yeah, I guess just playing with like a lot of guys at like such a high level of talent.
Yeah,
and just getting to be around and learn things and pick up things of course going overseas over to the Netherlands was extremely cool too.
For sure.
I was trying to stream it, and the stream I got for your games was in Dutch. I did not learn any Dutch, and I think I ended up just muting it. What's the food like in the Netherlands?
None of us were really too big of fans of the food. I don't even know how to describe it really. There was a lot. They had McDonald's though, so that was a good.
It's your saving grace.
Yeah, exactly.
Just say you find something familiar. Hey, there's a KFC. Yeah. Let's go exactly. Let's go to KFC. But then you even get like weird menu items at McDonald's that
there was a few things that were different. Yeah, there was a few things that were different, but the McDonald's were actually extremely nice over there. It was a lot different.
Yeah, they're not always nice over here.
Yeah, exactly.
And the ice cream machine usually doesn't work.
Yeah, that's very true too.
Did the ice cream machine work in the Netherlands?
I wouldn't know.
He wasn't ordering ice cream.
Yeah, exactly.
Now you had a chance to play with Hurston Waldrop with Team USA, and you'll have a chance to play with him again this year. Florida fans probably didn't watch a lot of Southern Miss last year. What's the scouting report you can give Gator fans about Hurston?
Yeah, I mean, he's really good. That's really all you need to say about him. But I mean, he's a great guy. Me and him get along really well. It was good to be able to play with Team USA, and just getting to talk to him and try and get him to come to Florida a little bit, maybe.
I was gonna ask. Were you part of that recruitment? Are you getting texts from Sully and Chuck being like, "Hey, he's in the transfer portal. You guys are in the Netherlands. We need you to pull through for us here, Wyatt."
I might have got a few, but I won't say too much. But no, he's a great guy. I like him a lot. He works really hard, and he's just a great guy.
Wyatt, real quick, just to circle back on last year before we start looking ahead, what would you say was some of your favorite moments from last year, whether personally, team wins, the homer that you hit? What were some things that stand out?
Well, I guess the first one was my first at bat of the year, my first start. And I was hitting in the 8-hole in the first game, and I hit a home run. That was really cool. That was my first collegiate home run and my first start after my freshman year of like not playing or anything.
Yeah,
that was a really cool moment.
You had like 3 at bats as a freshman, didn't you?
Yeah, I had 4.
4 at bats.
Yeah.
And I think you had a week with 4 home runs last year too.
Yeah.
What is that? What is that? What's going through your head? I've told people, and I told Zach before, I didn't want to intimidate Wyatt with my game balls from high school. So sorry if you are intimidated by my college career or my high school career. What is that moment when you hit a ball? And I've always told people, when you get a ball really well, like you don't even really feel it. What is that moment? Your first at bat, hitting a home run, and what's going through your mind, rounding the bases, or do you just kind of black out and think, "Don't fall"?
No, there was no don't fall thinking, but I mean there was a lot of emotion going on. I was very excited and pumped up.
He wasn't as clumsy as you, Nick.
Oh, he's a lot faster than me too. So I wasn't moving very fast. So it'd be more of a trip than a fall for me. What one last question about last year. What do you guys think you'll do in the outfield next to you? I know that you could play center field. I know that Corey and Mikey can play that. And then obviously you've got Ty returning to play another corner spot. Replacing Judd is tough. I'm sure he's a great teammate and obviously was a great hitter. You guys both hit 20 plus home runs last year. Just what do you guys think the outfield will be like, and how do you replace Judd?
Yeah, I mean it's really hard to replace someone like Judd. I mean he was elite on defense, and you can. I mean he had over 20 home runs his last 2 years, so it's hard to replace a guy like that. But I mean I'm not really sure what it's looking like right now. I mean it looks like I'm either going to be in center field or left field, and then I think they're still kind of battling for that other spot. We don't really have any bad options.
And how often would you be ready, camped under a ball, and then you hear mine, or ball, only to have Judd kind of run in front of you last year? There were definitely a couple of times I saw. I was like, well, I think Wyatt was ready to catch that one.
yeah, there was a few times,
but that's Judd covered a lot of ground.
Exactly.
And Wyatt, obviously turning the page and getting ready for this coming season. Just what has you most excited about this team and just kind of where you guys are at working through the off season and certainly the talent that you guys bring back?
Yeah, I mean, everything really. We have an extremely talented team. I mean, I think it's one of the best team that we've had since I've been here in the last 3 years. So I'm really excited. I mean, the pitching, the hitting, defense, it looks like it's coming together really well. So I'm excited to get going this spring.
What did you learn last year that can help you this year, just in terms of taking care of your body? And I know we talked about, how you kind of transform your body from freshman year to sophomore year, but just that grind, playing 56 games before you even get to the tournament. What do you do, or what have you learned to keep yourself healthy or to keep yourself strong, keep your weight up, things like that throughout the course of the year?
Yeah, I mean, they do a great job of feeding us. Like we eat food all the time. They keep us fueled up and ready to go. And then our training staff is really good as well at taking care of our bodies. They set up massage times for all the starters and pitchers on that Monday after a 3-game series. And then they do a really good job at just helping us keep up with our bodies and work on our recovery and stuff after games.
How is the food at the new Hefner complex? I've seen some of you guys in there enjoying that. And what has that been like for – everyone thinks of it as a football building. What has that been like for a baseball player at Florida to have that kind of access?
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, pretty much everyone on the team eats all 3 meals there a day. I mean, it's very convenient. It's great. It's great food for what you're getting. I mean, it's free to us really. So hey, there's nothing to complain about it.
Sometimes I want to go grab a plate when I walk in there.
Yeah, it's not bad food at all. It's very good food.
It's not Dutch food, Zach.
Exactly.
That's awesome. And then to wrap up, Wyatt, you mentioned just how this kind of been a dream for you, just being at Florida and playing for the Gators. What have you enjoyed most about this experience so far? And obviously getting to do stuff like, with the Gator Collective and some of these NIL opportunities.
Yeah, it's really great. I mean, just seeing people give back to like the program and like guys that are at the program now, I think it's a really good idea for like the Gator Collective and being able to be a part of it.
What other opportunities? I know you guys had I was there at the Midtown Social, but are there any other opportunities? And I see, guys doing interviews like this, but have you done anything like in the community or anything like that? And I guess anything else that you have planned with the Gator Collective, or anything you can talk about?
There's nothing. I don't think there's anything really planned out too much, but if anything comes my way, I'm always open to do stuff.
Well, you're getting into a busy time. It's just about to be very busy.
Exactly.
Now, one thing I'm sure you might have planned out is maybe some routines or superstitions. Do you have any as a baseball player that you go through?
I mean, not really. I try not to be very routine oriented. Sorry.
Yes.
Nailed it.
Just because I mean, things always change, and I don't want to it's hard to get on a routine when you're at home for half the season and then go off to a different, like if you're a regional somewhere else, you can't rely on that routine there too. So just being able to adapt and just work with what you have.
And do you have your at bat song picked out for this year?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna stick with the Flirting with Disaster.
All right.
Yeah.
So that's a routine that is sticking.
Yeah, that one's gonna stay probably.
Who now? Tell me this: who was your road roommate? And would you recommend them as a roommate? Some guys are sloppy, might leave stuff on the ground, might leave trash out.
No, Colby. He is.
Okay.
He's my roommate on the road, and he's my roommate here too. So I mean, he's my best friend on the team. So I don't have much bad to say about him.
You're happy that he came back because obviously he was draft eligible. Could have done some things, but you get another year to live and play some baseball with Colby.
Yep, that is true. It was good to have him back. It's good, very good for the team to have him back too.
Well, listen, we're looking forward to having baseball back. Excited to see you guys take the field again, and hope you enjoyed your off season. But I know you're ready to crank this thing up, man. We appreciate the time today.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you guys for having me on.
Absolutely. Wyatt Langford joining us. We're going to jump to this final break and wrap up this week's Gators Online podcast. Welcome back into the Gators Online podcast. Appreciate Wyatt for joining us in the last segment. And I definitely think after all the wildness of the recent month, fans are ready for baseball season, Nick, and they're excited for basketball.
And we're going to get back into, the Rashada stuff and other stuff. But that was a nice, little palate cleanser. Like, hey, the sky is falling. But listen, there's other stuff happening. If you want to check out football drama, you've got baseball. Track and field just started. Zach, I went to my first sporting event without a computer in front of me in years. Watched the season opener for the women's gymnastics team. They won in a landslide. Nice to just sit there with, a high noon and some popcorn and not have to worry about writing the story or what the storylines are. Just enjoy some of the best athletes in the world, practicing their craft.
Yeah. And I mean, you got a ton of talent coming back with baseball, but, Wyatt, obviously the single season tie for the single season record in home runs for the Gators. So a lot to be excited about him coming back. But, yeah, I think right now the focus for much of the fan base, along with, the streak that basketball is on, which we'll get into, but it's really where is the dust going to settle in terms of certainly the early enrollee situation with Rashada, but also the transfer portal window closing, I think, here at the end of this week. And, the Gators have now added 6 transfers after landing the Baylor offensive lineman who, you're talking about having the number 1 rated offensive guard in the country last year in Osiris Torrance. The number 2 was the guy they just landed. So not a bad addition there in terms of being able to plug in an immediate starter. You lose both of your starting guards with Ethan White leaving as well. So out of 6 portal additions, along with Graham Mertz, just considering the fact that he's probably going to be for the starter, at least to begin the season, I think Mackay is probably their most important addition that they've had so far, up there with Jackson as well.
Yeah, I mean, you can go back and forth. Was Austin Barber a starter, or did he become a starter? You're really only returning 1 starter in Kingsley Egukan.
Yeah.
Now you can make an argument that Austin Barber was a starter, when he took over for Tarquin. Obviously, continued playing a ton, and they had a rotation there. So you really only bring back 1.5 starters, and getting a guy in Micah, you don't want to. I have a story that has been kind of pushed off because I don't think people wanted to hear it or read it, but it'll be out Friday, comparing him and his season last year to Osiris. And I don't want to say he's going to be an All-American like Osiris was. You and I probably didn't know or wouldn't have projected that Osiris Torrance would have a brick outside the University of Florida, this time last year. But certainly getting someone with that kind of experience and at that talent level to bolster an offensive line that's replacing almost the entire line is huge, a huge win for Florida.
You want to give that last name a stab?
No. After I speak to him, I will.
Last name pronounced Muzuka.
Muzuka.
Micah
Muzuka.
Ooh, I like that. Micah Muzuka. I mean, that just sounds like an All-American name right there.
That's got a sounds good rolling off the tongue.
Yeah, I mean, definitely gonna. I think Sean Kelly's gonna have fun with that one. And a pancake from Micah Muzuka. But yeah, I mean, he's probably the best player that Florida landed from the portal for sure. And just when you consider the help there and the premium on the line of scrimmage, getting Cameron Jackson, who's going to be an immediate starter, getting him as an immediate starter on the offensive line, and then Mertz, who's probably got the leg up at least to start the season. Those are three really key pieces that are going to be kind of features of the 2023 team that Florida's landed here. So is there a chance that they could get another guy in here before this window closes? Potentially. And then I think they're going to want to save some spots for the spring too, to see kind of where things stand after there's a bunch of guys that want to hit the portal then. So, but 35 out, 27 in so far. I think you're pretty good offset numbers there. Would you say, Nick?
Yeah. And I think something cool can happen. I don't know if fans want to hear this, but I think it's cool. Like last year, Kyle Engel was put on scholarship for the spring semester and the summer semester. He was not on scholarship in the fall. It didn't count towards the 85, a number that Florida was right up against and should be right up against. You should be at 85 if don't handicap yourself. So I think there's probably an opportunity for some guys who were walk-ons and busted their butts last year on the scout team and during practice that, hey, we have some available scholarships right now, and we can help you in the fall semester and in the summer semester if that's something you want. And I think those are cool stories that probably don't get enough publicity. If anyone from Florida is listening to this, let us know about those. That's a cool story that we can write. There's not a lot of great stuff to be written about Florida right now. That'd be some cool, good PR.
Well, and obviously, I think some news this week that surprised nobody. Tim Tebow as a first ballot Hall of Famer. Cool moment that they had trying to mess with him and show him a list that he was not on. That was some fun there with the ESPN folks and obviously Dan in there, just settling into that role, Nick.
Hey, no, you don't have to recruit a single soul when they just put you on TV. Nice cushy job. Listen, you're getting 2 paychecks. ESPN's paying you. Florida's paying you for another 5 years. It's a good day to be Dan Mullen.
Yeah, it is, and obviously it was a good day to be Brad Lewis. I don't know if folks got to see that story that we had over the weekend. If you're looking for some good stories involving Gator football this week, this is a really cool kind of happenstance that this UF grad had, just rolling through Gainesville, wanting to try and stop by and see the football facility, and kind of creeping outside and looking through the windows, trying to get a peek in, and just happened to be right place, right time, runs into Billy Napier, and then instead of Billy kicking him off the premises or telling him to get lost, which I think maybe some former coaches here would have done. Billy invites him inside, has a chat with him for 5 minutes, and then he basically gives him free reign to tour the facility. So just a cool story, and I think Nick, you would agree. We like in the offseason when we get some time and break from press conferences and games, we get an opportunity to write some stories like that. They're cool.
Yeah, there's it's just the human element, and you get wrapped up into wins, losses, stats, analysis, recruiting. But there's a lot of good human interest stories and good that happens that you just don't have time to write, in September and October.
Yeah, absolutely. So right now, a lot of writing being done about the Florida basketball team. They have kind of turned a corner here recently after 3 losses in a row. They get a dose of Mike White in the O-Dome and found their mojo a little bit, it seems, Nick.
Zach, it was January, but is that the most must-win game you've ever seen in the month of January in college basketball? Like, what the reaction would have been if Mike White comes in and Georgia was 11-3 coming to that game,
and they were underdogs.
Florida was 7-6. This is a coach that you wanted to fire, and he said, "You can't fire me. I'm leaving." And he went to Georgia. I can't imagine. I think we would have locked the message board for at least a week. There would have been no posts if Florida would have lost that game. It felt to me, as much as a game can be a must-win in January, which it sounds ridiculous, that felt like for the psyche of the program and for the fans. I made a joke earlier in the week. Hey, in all kinds of weather, but I haven't seen the sun in years. It feels like. I think that was a must-win for just the mental health of Gator Nation.
Yeah, and also just I think for the confidence of the Florida basketball team, just to have had some games against tough opponents and play well, do some things well, but not do enough to get the job done and get over the hump, and you lose some close games. You start SEC play 0-2, and then if you start 0-3 and you lose to your former coach and the fan base is reacting to that, it's just a lot, I think, of outside noise, internal doubt that might start to creep in. So for them to kind of finally go out there and be able to put it all together, have 5 guys scoring double figures, really figure some things out defensively, and then just put it all together to get a win. They needed that. And then they turn right back around, go on the road on a quick turnaround with a Tuesday night game. And, an interesting matchup with, Todd Golden and McMahon, having both faced each other in the tournament just this past year. They get matched up again, and the Gators go on the road down at halftime by 3, and then they ended up with a double-digit win, 67-56. They snap LSU's 13-game home winning streak, and they have some guys continue to step up. And I think what's been maybe most encouraging for the Gators during this stretch here for them recently is that Colin Castleton, although he's just been all over the floor and affecting the game in so many ways, he's not scoring. I mean, he's not going out there and having 30-point games like he was early in the season. And they are finding other guys to provide production from a scoring standpoint and just kind of step up to the plate, whether that's Myron Jones, Riley Kugel, Reeves has had some big moments as well. So Lofton obviously stepped up against Georgia. So some momentum here for this team, Nick, and it doesn't get any easier now as they start going through conference play. They got number 20 Missouri coming to the O-Dome on Saturday, but definitely I think something that they needed. And Mike White Todd Golden has been saying this team is really close to being a good squad. They're doing some things well. They just haven't put it all together. And I think the last 2 games we're starting to see some signs of that.
Yeah, you got 2 guys averaging double figures right now. Castleton just a hair under 15 a game. Kwesi just a hair over 10 points a game. But Will Richard has looked great in maybe streaky at times, but has looked great. And it's interesting because basketball, you can kind of get a lot of us lump our football knowledge or fandom into these other sports, and it's like if you lose a game, it's over. The season's done. Like, you can lose some basketball games and you'll be all right. I'm waiting to hear that Kevin O'Sullivan's been fired after Florida drops a Wednesday night game. to Jacksonville or something like that. But they're long seasons. You don't want to peak in January. You want to be peaking, at the end of March. So when you hear, and I think what the reason I'm going off on a tangent like this, because you hear a basketball coach say, hey, this team's like starting to get it. Like they're starting to do this. And people are like, well, why didn't they start to get it before the first game? And it's like, there's a bunch of new guys. And like we said, this isn't a rebuild for Florida, especially when you look at, the older guys they got with like Lofton and Fudge and Bonham and Richard. And it's an older team through the transfer portal, but you still have to gel and develop and learn how to play with each other. And you can only simulate that so much in practice and in the 2 scrimmages that you get. It takes some time. And maybe we're seeing this team, hey, we've dealt with some adversity and now we know we can handle it. We know who we are. We're figuring out what the roles need to be and how to fill them. But it certainly seems, at least, getting a win over Georgia, who was a hot team coming in, and then going on the road and coming back against LSU, I think is a really big deal for this team and their confidence.
Yeah, so they took down the Tigers of LSU. We'll see if the Gators can take down the Tigers of Missouri on Saturday, get to three wins in a row, get to double-digit wins on the season, a winning record in the SEC, so a lot at stake. And obviously a win over a top 25 team, which would be big for Todd Golden. So we'll see how that plays out. Obviously, things are getting ready to get cranked up on the recruiting trail as well. The dead period will end here shortly. The transfer portal window will close, and kind of all the focus will shift to coaches getting back on the road, junior days happening, and some final official visit weekends for the Gator. But, hey, they got Mackay, they got Caden Jones, and, they're pretty close to kind of completing this class, Nick, and kind of turning the page on 2020-23 and the offseason with Mark Hockey. Which foundation phase?
Restart it, Zach. Restart that. It's January 18th is the day that the portal closes, right?
Yes.
And is that also the date where you have to declare? Obviously, we're still waiting on Ricky Pearsall and his final decision whether he will be a Florida Gator in 2023 or he will be hoping that a team, one of the 32 teams in the NFL, picks him up. I have very strong opinions about Ricky and what Florida's team looks like with and without him. And it looks much better with him. Obviously, it's a
January 16th is that deadline.
January 16th. Okay, so Ricky's got 4 days. 96 hours, Rick.
He's got a little bit more time than Rashada.
Yeah. Well, and if we get back into Rashada, there's waivers and ways to get you into school after drop ad. The UAA will politely ask the University of Florida for some concessions and some admissions. And I think there's ways to work around that. The deadline, which I guess I will call a soft deadline, is Friday. Depending on when you're listening to this, Friday, January 13th at 5 p.m. drop ad ends.
So you're saying there's a student deadline and a student athlete deadline?
Listen, I would allegedly, not to say that student athletes get any kind of impermissible benefit or concessions made for them. I'm just saying I've seen it before.
Well, unfortunately, for Florida fans, they saw something that they've seen before this past week as Georgia won another national championship, Nick, to end the football season. It was absolutely no contest whatsoever. TCU felt a little like the Gators did against Nebraska in 1995. And
well, listen, silver lining in it all. Georgia's 65 points is now the record number of points scored in a national championship. So Florida is no longer part of that record.
Yeah.
Nebraska scored 62, and that was the record since 1996. So the silver lining, same color pants as Georgia, silver pants, silver lining. Georgia helped you to erase you from the record book, at least.
Nick, you sound like Florida fans talking about kicking a field goal in the bowl game.
Hey, take the points, Zach. Take the points.
But listen, there is nothing like potentially losing your top quarterback recruit the day after your biggest rival wins back-to-back titles. I mean, that is just terrible timing. But the football season's over officially now for college football. We now turn the page on the offseason. We'll see where things are at once the portal closes, once this Jaden Rashada situation works itself out this week. And now we get to enjoy a little wild card weekend. Your Dolphins in action. No Tua, Nick.
Gonna catch a fat L.
Yeah.
Dolphins. I think I've seen this will be the second playoff game since Dan Marino, and they got boat raced by the Baltimore Ravens back in the early 2000s, I think. Expect them to get boat raced by Buffalo this week.
Yeah, I'm a Chicago sports teams fan, so my Bears got the number one pick. I'm
first time in decades. What do they do with the number one pick? You got Justin Fields. You don't need a quarterback. Do you take Jalen Carter, who's an absolute monster?
It's going to be hard to pass him up.
You probably try to take the number one pick and turn it into 7 picks.
You could if someone wants Bryce Young that bad. Chicago's not going to take him.
Mm-mm.
So
which then hurts your trade thing because okay, listen, we know you're not taking the quarterback, so we're not moving up because you're not taking the quarterback.
Well, obviously, fans want the Gators to take their quarterback. We'll see if that gets worked out by the end of this week, and we will be following along at Gators Online. God bless Nick Del Torre because he's look, my man. I salute him. I had my start of my classes this week, and then I'm trying to write the first mailbag. And Nick has just been all over this Rashada news, so props to him because it's he's probably needed some Excedrin.
Excedrin, yeah. Might take the night off and enjoy a bourbon tonight. Who knows? But, I don't think we can. Not until the end has been the finish line has been reached. Hopefully, one way or the other, we get to a resolution here in the next 24 hours.
Yeah, for sure. Well, appreciate you guys for listening and following along. We are staying on top of this for you all. Burning the midnight oil, working the phones, and that will continue. Appreciate Wyatt Langford for joining us on this week's episode. Talk about his record-setting season last year and what he's looking forward to in 2023. Baseball is right around the corner for the fans. Basketball's cranking up, so a lot happening in Gainesville. And we'll see you guys next week to recap it all. For Nick Del Torre, I'm Zach Alberford.